Hello, Thirstaholics. Welcome to the Thirsty Professional, our last episode of the season. And today we're welcoming Joseph Cope, the empathy guy. Go grab a bevvy. We'll be back in a minute.
Welcome to the space where truth is poured. No corporate scripts, just tales explored. From passion quest to purpose found, the thirsty professional breaks new ground. So fill your cup, let's have a chat about careers, life, and all of that.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Thirsty Professional. This is a place where we grab a bevy, we ditch the BS, and we get real about careers, purpose, and passion. I'm your host, Beth Ann Campbell, former corporate queen and now full-time author and podcaster. If you're out there watching live, please let us know that you're here in the comments, where you're from, and most importantly, what are you drinking? If you're watching the replay, please give us a hashtag replay. And of course, let us know if you have any comments or questions or feedback so we can address it during the live stream or after. Today, my very, very special guest on this last episode of season 1 of The Thirsty Professional is Joseph Cope. Joseph is a keynote speaker, corporate workshop facilitator, award-winning educator, and personal empathy coach. He has worked for 2 decades in the public education system with the world's most misunderstood population, that would be teenagers, which has given him a unique empathy-driven perspective on life. He calls himself the empathy guy, and he shares his perspective with heart-driven leaders who are stuck by the me first mentality. Oh, I know many of them. Joseph is also really fun, and he's a candid guy, which is why I like him so much. Please welcome Joseph Cope. Welcome to the show, Joseph.
Beth Ann, woo! I've been excited for this for months. I mean, literally.
I know
One, because I get to wear a hat and I don't got to show this mess, and I get to drink a bevy on the show live.
I know. So what do you? That's my first question for you: is what are you drinking?
So I am drinking. Okay, there's a little bit of a story behind this.
Tell me.
There's always. Okay, so recently I, like everyone in the world, have tried to be on a health kick. So yeah. I got something in my inbox that said, "Hey, are you interested in cutting out caffeine?" And I was like, "Not really," but I discovered mushroom coffee.
I'm so intrigued because I have had so many of those ads, and I've thought I really should try this because, like you, I really would love to cut down or out on the caffeine. Well, tell me what's your brand? Can you give a little plug for the brand?
Okay, so I am not an official brand, but I am telling you, like, I really enjoy it. It's called Everyday Dose. Really enjoy it. And it comes like you can do a monthly subscription, and every month you get not only the month's supply of coffee with like a little scoop thing, it's just a scoop in there, but you also get a little free gift with every single thing. Yeah, and it's super cool. There's like a little frother that comes on the first thing, so you put it in, and the little frother comes in with your drink, and you drop it in. Hot water goes over top of it. Froth it. You can do warm, you can do cold, and I think it's only got 45 grams of caffeine per cup.
So what does it taste like? Were you a coffee drinker before?
Okay, so here's the deal. I'm a huge coffee drinker, but I am not a coffee connoisseur. Kind of like, the difference between bad coffee and good coffee.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you the difference between good coffee and exquisite coffee.
Same.
So anywhere in that, like somewhere in the bell curve range, if you fall there, like you're in with mushroom coffee. It's good. And it's not gritty. It's not gritty, and it doesn't. Yeah.
I put so much crap in my coffee, and I pay a pretty penny for my coffee because I have I got a person in Floyd, Virginia, which is south of Roanoke, where I used to live, and I order it, and it's they get it. It's different every month, and where they source it is different. And but then I put like, hot chocolate or cream or flavored shit in it. So I don't know why I spend so much. I should just get like Sanka and dip into like Sanka, like my grandma, or Taster's Choice instant coffee. But I don't know. I really want to try that. You convinced me to try the mushroom. Do you feel better? Let me ask you this, because so I've struggled with this with the caffeine thing, because I know it's facts. Caffeine, yeah, I think that's right. When you've drunk, I'm a writer, I should know that. When you've drunk caffeine, when you've been drinking caffeine for so long, you don't really get a boost. You basically get back to baseline. That's what it does. It just gets you to baseline, and you think you're getting a caffeine boost of energy, but really you're just sinking while you're not on caffeine, and it's just getting you to baseline. How do you feel drinking less caffeine?
Okay, so no lie, the first week of drinking mushroom coffee, I was like, this stuff is like shit. Like, I'm not doing, like,
Forget it. I'm
why
done.
am I doing this? Like, if I mean, you might as well send me to a detox. It's not the same thing. Like,
That's
I'm fading in the afternoon. I can't. But okay, so by week 2, probably week 2.5, um, the things that I noticed were that it felt steadier throughout the day. I did experience a little bit of a dip in the afternoon, but that is probably because of the food choices that I was making for lunch, not the caffeine thing.
yeah, yeah.
And you know what's interesting? In the middle of it all, I, of course, tried to do a 72-hour fast. Good Lord. Where all you do is water and coffee. But before, it was just water and regular coffee. Now it was water and mushroom coffee, and 45 grams of caffeine twice. I did 2 cups of that. Was incredible. Like, okay, and this is TMI, but let's just say regularity was on the regular.
I don't really have to worry about that. I'm pretty and
No,
it's not TMI for me. I could talk about poop all day long every day, but we'll
I
we'll
know.
we'll,
There's folks
we'll
in our
not.
audience. Listen, I'm the
Well,
empathy guy, so I got to create space for poop too.
I love that you found something that you love, because for me, the caffeine is only part of it. Like, I think if I found a good replacement, the habit part I could still then indulge in, because that's part of it,
Mhm.
is the ritual of, and I think that's for a lot of people, right? Because we
Yeah.
know that it's not really, I get the slumps in the afternoon too, and I know my coffee isn't doing a damn thing about it. But the ritual is really the hardest part to give up.
And if that's what you're looking for, the taste of this brand, Everyday Dose, it tastes like coffee. It tastes like coffee.
That's great. We'll see. And
Yeah.
well, I guess it's good, but I really don't like the taste of coffee. I know we could do a whole episode. We should do a whole episode on just bring a cup, because every time I talk to people, there's probably 2 or 3 others of my guests. We could just come on and talk about all of the shit that we've been trying to improve our health and whatnot. But yeah, I don't
I'm
really like
kidding.
coffee. I'm going to jump over to our comments real quick, because we've got some people joining in. I've got Lynn Hallbrooks, howdy from North Central Texas, and Lynn is drinking chai tea. Another thing I've never tried. Have you ever had chai tea?
I am okay. I'm not a chai connoisseur. I'm not anti-chai. I have to be in the mood for chai.
Yeah. I'm just not a tea person in general, but I think chai tea would probably. I've heard people describe it to me, and it's not like black Earl Grey Captain Picard tea. That just
Yeah.
is gross to me, but maybe something
Mm.
good. We've got Dawn LeDuc here from North Carolina. Hi, Dawn. And then Rola, I'm going to try to pronounce your name.
Hasanya. Hi,
Hassania.
Rolla.
Thank you.
Hi,
Thank
Rolla.
you. Rola Hassania, thank you for joining us from Connecticut. You might be the first Connecticut joiner. Anyway, Joseph, I want to jump in.
What do you call those? Connecticutians?
Yeah,
Connecticutans?
Rola, tell us, what do you call it? Because I know I'm from Michigan. We call ourselves Michiganders. Now I live in Virginia, so I'm a Virginian now. But every state has some. And is a Texan, right? You're in Austin,
I
so
yeah, I'm not a born Texan.
where are you
I,
born?
I'm a born Canadian.
Oh,
Born
yeah,
Canadian.
really?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, eh?
Well,
Yeah, no, it was born in Vancouver, BC.
we're I feel like Canadians, because I'm from Michigan, which borders and has access to Canada. I feel like I'm always cousins with the Canadians, so
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, Joseph, let's kick off. I normally ask my guests usually to tell us what we do, what you do, and where your passion is and what you do, and we will get to that. But I first want to ask you, because you are the empathy guy, can
Mhm.
you tell us what is empathy? Because and I say this, and I'm not saying this just as a hook to pull you in. I literally have had with a couple of people in the last year little debates with people about empathy because I feel like they're using it as a writer. I feel like they're using it incorrect, like they misunderstand even the dictionary definition, let alone the broader definition. So, what is empathy?
Yeah. So let's define why empathy first gets the bad rap.
Yeah.
Because I mean, corporate folks out there are going to look at empathy, and the first thing they think of is, gosh, soft skill. Like, and they're going to say this: I know that's good, but I don't have the capital to invest in a soft skill.
Right. Oh,
Like,
yeah.
so because the problem is you've only experienced transactional empathy. You've never experienced fierce empathy.
Well, what's the difference?
Okay, transactional empathy feels like a checklist. It feels like what you have to go down to make somebody get to an outcome. So I do something alongside you while in my head I'm thinking, I actually want you to do this.
Mm. So
That
is a
feels
means to an
icky.
end. Yeah.
If you use empathy as a means to an end, oh, it just feels so. It does, and so one, it feels transactional. So that's one side of the misnomer. Okay, it gets called soft because it feels manipulative, and I don't even want to go there into that feeling stuff. The
Yeah.
other side is empathy. Everyone is born with an empathic nature. Beth Ann, everyone is born with an empathic nature because human beings are wired to connect. We have to connect as humans. Otherwise, isolation brings in all that negative spiral, right? We've all been there. We experienced 2020. We know what it's like. Remember when it opened back up and we were like, humans?
Yeah.
It's because
Oh,
humans are wired to connect.
yeah.
The challenge, though, is with that connection for wiring, depending on how many of us were raised, many of us have an overdeveloped empathic nature.
Really?
And an overdeveloped empathic nature is what you would call somebody who falls on the empathy spectrum as an empath. People who feel, genuinely feel. Okay, those are on the top end, but it's also human nature to have compassion on somebody who's struggling, right? Like when
Yeah.
you see someone in who's having a hard time, you're wired for connection, so you innately feel for that person. The question is, what do you do with that feeling? Because if all you have is your empathic nature to go on, you're going to react in that moment. And your reaction combined with your empathic nature is going to issue in not fierce empathy, it's going to issue in sympathy.
Okay. So yeah, so tell me a little bit about because that's really where I get into the conversations with people is sympathy
Yeah.
versus empathy on a very high level. So
Sure.
how does
Sympathy is,
sympathy differ?
listen, yeah. So ask your question one more time so I want to make sure I hit it.
How does sympathy differ from empathy?
Sympathy is driven by your emotions. Sympathy doesn't have boundaries. Sympathy actually drives victimhood and resentment. You know that you're engaging in sympathy if you, as the giver, begin to feel heavy in your conversation.
Hmm.
Think
Okay.
about that. You're internally feeling a burden in taking care of this. You may not want to admit it, but your body doesn't lie. Your body will not lie if you don't want to be in there. And because you don't have the skill to engage in empathy, all you have is that nature within you that wants to connect. You just don't know how to create that space. And the space that you're creating for that person. That's the skill of empathy.
Oh, you should put that on a t-shirt. The space that
Mm.
you're creating for a person, that's empathy.
The definition of empathy that I'm bringing into the world, Beth Ann, is this. Empathy is the skill that a leader possesses to create space for another human so that individual can see the value of change for themselves.
Mm, wow. And I can tell you, I know many leaders, and not very few of them have that. So tell us a little bit about how are you using empathy today in what you do, and the passion around your career, and how did you get there? Well,
Well,
we kind of gave a spoiler a little bit early, teenagers, but
you
tell
know
us
what?
about that.
Yeah, you know what, Beth Ann? What ended up happening was before I even got into education, the story, as I look back on it now, it started well before I chose to get into education. Part of my story is I grew up in a family where I didn't have a choice except to have a highly developed empathic nature because of the condition of the family where I grew up, right? There's a lot of things that we could talk about with reasons, but the bottom line is I became a people pleaser like nobody's business.
Mm.
I became your proverbial nice guy. And so and when I say nice guy, I mean, think about it. Like the guy who didn't think high enough of himself to ask a girl out on a date, but was always okay being a girl's friend. Think
Ah,
about like the toxicity in what that goes, and think about all the head trash that was going on in my head around you're not good enough. You can't be who you are isn't enough. If it's not related to someone or something else, you have no value. I
mm.
mean, so much of that was so ingrained without me knowing.
Well, and
And
that's so
so
ubiquitous too, Joseph, because so many people, perhaps not to that degree, but so many people look outside of themselves for whatever happiness, whatever, and not realizing that their obstacles are within, and the path is all the key is within as well. So
it
fascinating.
is. And the way that we're raised has a lot to do with that. And that's nobody's fault. Right? That we could
You
put fault, but it's not worth it. It's not worth it at this point in our life.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we can't help. I mean, I've had many conversations with many of my guests about how our childhood shapes us, and I think what you just said is so important and so profound is we can't help that. We don't create that for the most part. We can't prevent it. We're not aware that it's happening when it's happening. We're just children and young people. So it is what it is. But then so now you're this people pleaser, and
Yeah. I'm
now
this
you
people
become an
pleaser, and I
adult, and
and
what do
I
you do?
decide to go to school. So I graduate from high school, okay? And, everything looks like I'm confident. It looks like I'm
Mm,
all of this on the outside. And then I decide to go into elementary education of all things, right? Like, just the thought, elementary education. And here's what I've discovered. Unbeknownst to me, I wanted to get into profession, and this is all like, I don't know necessarily why I made this decision until later. There was a part of me that needed to get into a profession where I could have an impact on people who would listen and I was able to mold. Because if I could have an impact on you, then it would give me a sense of identity, or so I
I
thought.
gotcha. I was just
So
gonna ask you
who
if that
better?
was yeah,
Who better to work with than children?
yeah.
And so I started in elementary school and I loved every minute of it. And listen, having that overdeveloped empathic nature, ultimately when I moved from elementary school to middle school, it's what made me an award-winning teacher. It
Oh,
made me everything that my kids needed me to be to them.
well,
It
Joseph,
was
if I could just say,
cup filling.
you have to get an award if you even just work with middle schoolers, because 'cause I'm sorry, but they're assholes. I was one, I was an asshole. So just saying.
I appreciate your bluntness, but here's how I ultimately ended up
Yeah.
figuring out, because I realized that my superpower was my capacity to connect with the students and
Yeah.
my capacity to create the space that they needed.
Oh.
And I ended up starting to refer to my middle school kids as chocolate dipped ice cream cones, because they looked hard on the outside, but you just get in a little bit and they melt in your hand.
Oh.
All teenagers need is a sense of authenticity and that you care. And tell me that's not human. Tell me that's not like the
Very human.
magnification of humanity. We all have an itty bitty teenager living inside of us that wants to say, screw you. I don't want to do this. Don't make me tell me how to do things. You can't show me all of those things, or the shutdown, or I mean, literally, you have that within you. And so all of those pieces became something that I was able to find out. But the problem was when people would ask me, Beth Ann, how do you do what you do with that kid? Or like, you got Beth Ann in fourth period. How did you get her to write? Like, she hates writing. How did you get her to write? And I used to say things like, well, I don't know. I guess I just built a relationship with her. I got to know her. I had conversations.
Yeah.
But that didn't translate. When I said that to people, they would just walk away thinking, oh, that's just Joseph being Joseph, or that's just
Yeah.
Mr. Cope being Mr. Cope. There was no transferable skill in that. And so in 2019, I had been teaching middle school for 5 years at that point. Um, there was a man who came to our school who gave the best professional development I'd ever been a part of. It was, he gave us and the skill that he taught us was how to have a conversation with intention with students so that they could carry the weight of their own behavior.
So this was a workshop for the
Mhm,
teachers,
mhm.
and I don't know, maybe administrators, but there's not for the kids. Okay.
It was for teachers, how
Hmm.
to have that
Interesting.
conversation. The best conversation, best PD I've ever had. Let's fast forward a little bit. 2021, I had been in leadership for 3 years, and my wife was gonna take a job in, of all places, Mississippi. And no offense to Mississippi, I just didn't wanna be an educator in Mississippi. I'm just saying, period, that's it. You can fill in the blanks. And so I Googled this man on Google, and I said, "Hey, I don't know if you remember me. I'm just wondering, what would it take to be a trainer in your company?" He emails me back
Wow.
and he says this. He goes, "Listen, I don't know if you're a God thing, serendipity, or whatever. My head trainer just took a position as a principal." He goes, "I remember you. Let's start this conversation." Okay.
Talk about taking the bull by the horn, or the buffalo by the horns.
Heck yeah. So literally, today I am doing one of the hats that I wear, Beth Ann. I still am privileged to travel around the country training teachers in the training that changed my life.
Okay, so you
And
are working now with this guy with the
Mhm.
training that you are you still teaching, or are you mostly
I'm
doing?
not teaching.
Okay.
No, no. So I am a full-time national speaker with this company. Now, here's the thing. People started asking, "Do you only work with teachers?" And I was like,
Yeah.
for now. So a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, was the birthplace of the empathy guy. And I started speaking to corporate, into organizations, because ultimately the bottom line is this, Beth Ann. Every dysregulated adult, when they are dysregulated emotionally, what do they act like?
Teenagers.
And it's ironic how eerily and how uncanny the skills are that transfer.
Yeah.
So when I work with adults in corporate now, it's different in that there's a lot more self-reflection because we're not working with minors. In With adults, primarily, we have to do the self-work before we can create space for others. But the ultimate goal is, how can we re-engage with how we're wired as humans to connect to each other? How can we do that? And that's what we're going for now.
Are you when you're working with your corporate, leaders and individuals, so you said it's different because they have to work on themselves. Is it different in the way that you teach them to have that conversation or that interaction with adults versus 13, 14-year olds?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the reality is this is when you're working with a 13 or 14-year-old, you realize intuitively that you're working with somebody who still has a lot of future ahead of them, meaning a lot of hope, a lot of growth, a lot of things.
Yeah,
The reality with a
they're
the
not
reality
jaded
with a
and yeah.
so we're not shaded. We don't have, I mean, neuroscience, right? They have fewer brain pathways that are established. So your capacity to change their neural pathways is a lot higher. So you creating that space is a lot more about just building a relationship and then putting something in. With adults, what tends to hold us back the most in our creating space for others is all of the neural pathways that prevent us from creating space within ourself for ourself. All that head trash that's taking place within us, the you're not good enough that got wired in early, the
Yeah.
you can't do this, or you're not good at people things, or you're a math person, or you're an introvert, or you're too much, all those things end up being put out into the world unconsciously, and those become big
100%.
barriers for connections.
So you're so dead on. I've had so many conversations with some of the people that are in our comments right now, and it's just fascinating to me that there is this slight shift. It's even I'm sure it's the same overall premise, but you've now got to teach leaders to look within to help their people look within. I mean, that's getting pretty profound. Speaking of some of our comments, I want to just jump over here real quick. We've got a LinkedIn user, and I apologize that I don't have your name. This is a restream in LinkedIn thing. Somebody from Charlottesville, just up the road from me. So I'm in Stanton, Virginia, just about 45 minutes from Charlottesville, I think, if assuming it's Charlottesville, Virginia. So whoever LinkedIn user is in Charlottesville, hello. Doris Walsh, a former and future guest on The Thirsty Professional, she says, yes, so resonates. I'm a recovering people pleaser. And Doris says, huge kudos to being a middle school teacher. Absolute superhero stuff. I'd last 10 minutes and I'd write myself a detention. Oh, Doris, you always make me laugh. And then we've got, and again, I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, Shuva Rahim, or is it Shuva Rahim? Love listening to your story, Joseph Cope, the empathy guy. Yes, me as well. So let's get back to that story. So, okay, so you met this guy, you reached out, which by the way, I don't want to let that go where we don't talk a little bit about the greatness of taking the bull by the horns and just saying, look, I'm going to take charge. I like this. So anybody out there, if you're struggling doing whatever, take a tip from Joseph. And if there's something that you want to do, somebody you want to meet, something that you've always dreamed of, just be proactive about it. Be uncomfortable, get in there and do it. And look, you might have the same great story as Joseph, where now you have a new fulfilling career. So, okay, so are you still working with educators, or are you mostly now working with corporate leaders?
So here's the deal. I get to work with educators with my mentor, right? I get to. I'm expanding in the space of corporate and organizational empathy.
Awesome.
That's my pathway. And what I've really discovered is this: you have to learn to step outside of your comfort zone for the growth to take place. And okay, it's trite to say every one of your guests who's on here is going to agree with that. But what I've discovered as application to that is I can talk to teachers and educators till the cows come home. I love it, but it doesn't challenge me.
Oh, I can completely agree with that. I can see that because having worked 23 years in corporate with many people who could have benefited from your
Mhm.
SAGE program, yeah, yeah, because you're like you said before, you're beyond the point, and I was one of them. You are beyond the point of where you're a sponge. I'm still developing those neurons. You've already gotten to a point where it's a lot harder. And it's a lot
Mhm.
harder. And you really do have to go back and recognize what am I doing and how am I behaving that really isn't, number one, isn't serving me, that I have control of, that is probably coming from my past And I don't even know it because I did. I thought I was an aware person. No, I had no idea until I really started looking from within and said, wow, I could have been a different corporate employee. I might still
So
be there today.
yeah. So I, to kind of answer your question, I love working with teachers, and I don't ever want to give up working with teachers,
Right. Yeah.
you know? But I also realize for me to grow, I have to work with people who have hard questions, who are going to challenge the concept of fierce empathy, who are going to not recognize that they need it until the light bulb kicks in, right? Like, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I got to speak to an amazing, curious group of legal administrators.
Wow. Ooh.
Yeah, it's the first time that I've worked with legal folks, and I'm not gonna lie, it probably wasn't my best presentation because I was like, all the head trash was real in there. Like, they're not gonna do it, they're not gonna take it. They're okay. They invited me in for their monthly. There were 16 people sitting around tables. It was small, it was intimate, and 15 out of the 16 said this was extremely valuable. And the one who said that it wasn't was an interesting piece of feedback for me. They said, I don't think I need this. I'm already in HR. This is already intuitive. I'm good. Think about the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset
Yeah.
when we're in a place. And I'm not saying that as a judgment because I've been there myself. I like I it, but what that said to me as feedback was there's something that I missed as a presenter that now I can take back and ask. For the people who feel like they get this intuitively, how can we bring it to life?
Yeah.
How are we going to make
Opportunity.
this real for you? And right away, you know what I thought? My first thought was this: I talked too much. They didn't talk enough.
Mm.
And any good educator who's worth their weight in salt will tell you if you're still lecturing your students, the 50s called and want their education system back.
Right.
Human beings have to have conversation, which is why this is such a great format. We have to have conversation about what we're learning for those neural pathways to stick in for us to get them.
Yeah. Well, I love that you focus a little bit and you acknowledge the power of discomfort because you and I talked a little bit about that on our last call. And one of my favorite sayings is by this. I got it from this guy. His name's Jason Seib. He's actually kind of a former fitness coach who now helps people get healthy. But his tagline is discomfort is the herald of opportunity. And we know from studies, there was I think it was a Stanford study that came up with this idea of a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And growth mindset is you are uncomfortable, you do fail, but you don't focus on the outcome. You focus on, what did I do to get there? And then how can I, take this and be better for it?
Mm.
So I love discomfort. Discomfort's been a big part of my life. Of course, I don't love discomfort, but I love does this make sense? I love the idea of discomfort because I think we are a pleasure-seeking society, and I
Mm.
think that we are losing out, especially with some of our young folks who are growing up in a world of
Mm.
not all of them, but some of them in this world of we've got to fix everything for them, and they don't have
Mm.
to struggle for anything, and they don't have to be challenged. And I've seen a lot of I've seen a lot that are not, but I've also seen quite a few when I was in corporate, young people coming out of college had no idea how to deal with something that wasn't comfortable, that was a little bit of a challenge, and it's so important for those neurons and for that, just for our well-being and our growth, to embrace a level of discomfort and to be okay. It's okay to. So I love that you found a little discomfort in like this one person, and you're like, okay, that's okay. I'm
Mhm.
checking my ego. What can
Yeah.
I do better? I love
Yeah. Listen, have you Have I told you this is going to sound random? I promise it'll
No,
relate.
please, let's go. We're go where we're going.
Have I told you the difference between a buffalo and a cow?
No.
No. So you notice behind me over there, see my buffalo
Yeah.
and my two buffalo right here. And if you are out there and see on my profile page, you'll see there's a buffalo beside a buffalo emoji beside. That's with intention. You see, a few years ago, after I was going through my proverbial midlife crisis, which I don't recommend for anyone, but when you go through it, lean into the shit because it's real. It only smells like shit at first. It turns into manure eventually. The fertilizer will come, I promise.
Love it.
But at the end of one of my sessions, my therapist, he goes, oh, and my therapist, this like bald, horn rimmed glasses, hipster looking dude who's jacked with tattoos. And he's like, hey, Joseph, what are we talking about today? He's like, and he leans in and he goes, hey, Joseph, do you know the difference between a buffalo and a cow? And I was like, what are you talking about? A buffalo, let's listen, cows were bred to be domestic. And when cows get stuck out on the plains, and a storm comes, they run away from the storm, not knowing that they're going to be in the storm for longer. A buffalo by nature will lean into the storm, knowing that the storm will pass quicker.
Wow.
And when we are in these challenging moments of life, you talked about it, discomfort. Are we willing to lean in? And as we're leaning in, the more skill we have as we lean in, the less we feel like a martyr, a victim, a woe is me. I'm just going to grit my teeth and bear it. But when you lean in with intention, it makes all the difference in the world. Let me tell you a really cool fact about American bison. So they did this study. They did the study on all of these different bovine species. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was ethical. They put them into
No bovines were injured in the
no
process.
bovines were injured in the process, but they put them into a cooled chamber and they decreased the temperature until the bovine heart began to show distress. And the moment that it showed distress, they removed them out. So certain breeds got lower and lower and lower and lower. And then they put an American bison, a buffalo, inside the chamber. They got to negative 45 degrees Fahrenheit, and the buffalo's heart was still at a resting rate and hadn't changed.
Wow.
Tell me that's not the kind of intention that we could use going into these storms, going into these challenging moments.
100%. And I think it's also a little bit of the more that we do it, and anybody who's ever embraced and leaned into that discomfort and said, it's okay, I'm going to be that buffalo. The more that you do it, the next time, okay, I've already weathered something similar or something bigger or whatever, or something almost as big. And I know I can do it. And I think that's so important too, is that experience and this is why I get, I'm going to tangent off a little bit. And this is why I kind of chuckle whenever I hear my friends, and I've done it too with my nieces and nephews. I want them to not have to go through the things that I've gone through. But the truth is, I am only the person I am today because of the things that I went through that were difficult, because I had to struggle. So preventing our kids from being challenged and having to figure out things and being uncomfortable and failing is not doing them any good. I mean, of course, we don't want them to get, wear your helmet on your bike when you're out mountain biking, of course, but everything, no. I mean, sometimes you got to just go, okay, I'm going to trust that you'll figure it out.
Ooh. Oh, okay.
You have a kid, right?
I've got two. I've got a 16
so,
and a 13. I got a 16 and a 13. Yes. I mean, it was my daughter's 13th birthday just 2 weeks ago. We went down to a water park. She invited 3 of her friends. We went down to a water park. The girls got into the car. It was a hour-and-a-half drive, 90-minute drive. They got into the car. I opened the middle console and I said, "Give me your phones." And they were horrified.
What?
What
What am I supposed to do?
And my daughter's like, "Oh my gosh, my dad makes us do this stupid thing. We can't." Ugh, like, I'm sorry. So we put them all in, and there's a couple of girls, they just were like, uh,
How am I gonna
so
have
we
to
had to
sit
play.
in silence here and
So,
figure out what to do to occupy myself in boredom for an hour and a half?
so you know what
Oh
we
my
had
god.
to do? We had to have human conversation, and it started with, "Would you rather have pizza or hamburgers?" Like, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you want to go? If you could, I mean, you remember what it was like growing up and how we
Yeah,
passed the time in the car?
yeah,
Like, the license plate game, the color game, the sign game,
yeah.
the
The
would you
letters
rather,
game,
all
yeah, yeah.
things, like, they kept us engaged in that, and the capacity to sit in that discomfort, and then, wouldn't you know it, on the way home for the hour and a half, they wouldn't stop talking. Like, like the
You know
phones were in and they couldn't stop talking.
Joseph, that is even something that I, as a grown-ass woman, am conscious of the fact that sometimes it's hard for me to live in boredom. So even
Mhm.
when I'm watching a television, my husband and I will be watching our binge show, right? Stranger Things, we're binging right now. I've already seen it, but he hasn't. Great show anyway, by the way. But we have a commercial. We get our Netflix free from our phone company, so we have commercials. And the ads come on, and it's maximum 90 seconds. And every time, both of us, where's the phone? And I've
Yep.
actually has started being conscious of that and saying, okay, if you can't live in 90 seconds in your own head,
Mm-mm.
then what are you?
Mm.
This, and I what you're saying is so important, and I'm glad you're doing it.
Well, you know what? I want to add something. I want to add something to it, because in the post that you dropped on LinkedIn, you referenced our conversation that we had where we talked about purpose.
Purpose, yeah.
And here's one thing that I'm here's one thing where I'm discovering where empathy plays the role in being in creating more purpose-driven human beings. Because would you agree with me that it feels today like more and more, okay, one, purpose is a buzzword, and two, more and more people, the more you talk to them, their lack of authenticity is the biggest red flag that
Yeah,
they don't have a sense of purpose.
100%. Yeah.
They're saying the things that ChatGPT told you to. They're dropping the lines that they learned on TikTok, or on Instagram.
Yeah.
But there's a lack of mm, it just
Yeah.
doesn't. So, I mean, and the way that I define purpose, it's from one of my mentors, Gab O'Shea. She and her husband Brian run a company called The Purpose Company, and they define purpose as the best of what you have to give to others. That's how they define it. Okay. One time when I was in a session with Brian, he gave a little bit of a little bit of an iteration that shifted the way that I think. And he said it like this. He said, "Purpose is the best of what you've been given to give to others." And that little nuance completely shifted how I realized and saw the experiences that I've been going through. See, we've all been given things that we don't even recognize. And sometimes with human beings, it takes another human being to create the space for you to see what your capacity is to step into your purpose. I mean, Simon Sinek talks about courage. He says the difference between bravery and courage is bravery is kind of that thought. Courage is when somebody sees it in you and they remind you you have the
Oh,
courage to do it, and you step into that because somebody saw it in you.
oh my god,
That's
so profound.
empathy. That's empathy. And when you have the skill to create that, just imagine if your organization was the organization where people left and they said, "That was where I found my purpose. And I'm going to go," because once you discover your purpose is industry agnostic. It's
Yeah.
location agnostic. It's human agnostic, because it's the best of what you've been given to give to others. And when your purpose resonates with others, fulfillment kicks in. I tell people all the time, Beth Ann, I don't, I, it's, I'm not lying when I say I don't work a day in my life. The hardest part about what I do is deciding what Netflix show I'm going to watch on the plane before I get there. Because the moment I get off the
That's
plane, it's
hard.
let's go. Let's figure it out. What are
Yeah.
we going to do to create space? Who is it that we're going to create space for? And these are, but it takes so much intention in what we're doing.
I'm going to repeat this what you said earlier, because you gave me this same quote when we talked on our call, and I found it so profound, because as somebody, I think I try to be pretty authentic, but I think I really was mistaking my passion for my purpose. I have a passion. I know what my passion is, but I still don't know about my purpose, but you've gotten me closer, and here it is. Okay, again, the best of what you've been given. Your purpose is the best of what you've been given to give to others. That needs to, I'm going to put that on a sticky note and put it right up on my computer, because that is what we're talking about. That is what we're
And
talking about.
and Beth Ann, you can see with that definition, your purpose is never set. Your purpose is part
What?
of the journey.
Your
It's
purpose.
part of the journey. Your purpose, listen, you're going to find alignment in your purpose.
Yeah.
But if I say, I've discovered my purpose, you know what you've just engaged in? A fixed mindset.
Wow. Do you have any idea how liberating that is to hear? To give permission to say you don't have to, your purpose is not set in stone. It's not a rock that sits on your desk and it never moves. It's not a boulder. It's
No.
it
Your
can evolve
your
and change.
your purpose will emerge through the filters that you put your life through. So you're a writer, I'm a professional speaker. Your purpose will emerge through your writing and through your talking about the writing and the content that you put out there. People are going to sense your purpose. I, I don't know how into woo you are. I consider myself like
Big.
okay, so I consider myself authentically yoga curious right now.
Yeah,
Like,
same here. Same. I just had a
I'm like
conversation with somebody
I'm
about it. Yeah.
figuring this out. So I'm figuring out like the work, the energy centers, the places, all the things. Okay, so I have a really good friend, and she is way into it. As a matter of fact, she just sent me a book that changed her life on astrology, and I was like,
Ooh.
huh, I'm gonna
Oh,
sit in this. I'm gonna sit in this, and it's not what you think it is. And my former life would have been like, ooh, astrology, evil. I'm like, no, 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 hold on. Let's just sit in this for a little bit. My point in saying that, that friend who sent me that has always been somebody who has challenged my norms. She has always been someone who has said, I think there's more to you. I think there's more to you. No, that's not real. What you just said isn't real. So she shared with me that in the space of energy, the deepest level of resonance between humans, they've measured it, comes from authenticity. The
not surprised at
deepest
all.
level of resonance in our energy comes from authenticity, but you can't put words to it. You
You can't. Have
no.
somebody try to describe what does it mean to be authentic? I mean, it's a great word, overused, but people think that some of us, like, I feel like I know what it means, but I couldn't tell you. I couldn't define it for you.
Okay,
I
you
know
know
it
what?
when I see it.
Let's use me as an example, Beth Ann, and I'm going to get a little vulnerable here with it. Okay, I want you to tell the audience the difference that you had with me in our first conversation and in our second conversation. When I was just starting as the empathy guy, before purpose had emerged, and a year later, when purpose had a lot more clarity. What do you remember from that?
Yeah, I remember I told you this. So Joseph
Yep.
and I were connected through a mutual friend, and I got on a call, and I could tell absolutely great energy and really smart, but I felt like I think I said I felt like I was in a used car salesman
Mhm.
presentation, right? I just felt like it was a little over the top, and just it was almost like a show. And then the next, and I was really skeptical about even pulling you here, but when we had our second call, which was back in, like, I don't know, February or March, it was different, and I told you that I made myself vulnerable, and I said, look, I'll be honest, you're totally different. You still have the same great message and the same um, amazing things that you're talking about, but you're just so much more real now, and that's what I told you. I was very honest with you, and you are. I think that it was like two different people I was talking to.
And that to me, like, okay, so when you were saying that, we're gonna get woo right now. As you were saying that, when you started to talk about that first conversation, I remember feeling like this lady is so cool and I am not hitting it. Like, I just felt, ugh. Like, I remember getting off that first call and being like, you fucking blew it. God, you're an
Right.
idiot. Oh, and like as I say that, I feel that right here. And I almost feel a little bit of like if you're into chakra work, like when your throat chakra is activated, it feels blocked, the words can't come,
Yeah.
you know? But as you were saying, the second thing, what resonated was it felt lighter in the heart and it felt lighter in the
Yeah.
voice area because there's less there's less blockage. There's less head trash that's worrying. Oh, this is the first time that I'm meeting her. She's so cool. What are you going to do? Impress her? What are you going to blah, 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 blah?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it's there. It's out there. It's you. It's real.
And I felt that it felt like you were trying to impress the first time, and the second time, I honestly went into the call thinking, "Yeah, I'm not. This is not. We're not. He's not going to be on the show. We're going to have a conversation, and it's fine. But if I'm still getting that same where I feel like trying, but it was completely different. You were just totally, and you were
Mm,
just, and you did get vulnerable even on that first call. But I just felt like it was just a different something I sensed.
yeah.
Like I said, it's hard to put it into words, but yeah, great example. Hey, I want to just be respectful of time here. And so, folks, we're going to be wrapping up in a little bit. We've got a little bit more time, but I want to go through some of your comments. If you have any final comments or a feedback, please throw them in the comments now because we do have a bit of a delay. Is it Natsue? Love
Mm.
this. Leadership go hand in hand with learning. The day you stop learning is the day you stop leading. Oh man, I gotta make a document of all the great comments from my audience. Rita Arriba says, "I'm still a chronic people pleaser, and it's so draining because people still don't appreciate I'm trying to work on it." Well, I think that's a I don't know, Joseph. What do you think about looking to others for that appreciation? Is that or do we need to look from within to find
It's,
our love?
yeah. In the 1 minute version that I would say of that is there's three circles. The outside circle is the things that you can't control. The inner circle is the only person that you can control. And that has one name. Rita, that's your name. But I said there's three circles. The middle circle is a perforated line. Think about it as a dotted line. That middle circle is called the circle of influence. The moment that you let all the out of control things, other people's emotions, other people's mood, the weather, politics, influence, you become hollowed out or boarded up. But the moment that you do the work on that center circle and the arrows come from the inside out, now your influence is full of purpose.
Love it. Great. Thank you for that. So Lynn Holbrook says caterpillar to butterfly, lots of discomfort in that process. Yeah, we see that in nature. I mean, look at childbirth. I mean, it's, people do
I
it
wouldn't
multiple
know, but I
times.
believe you.
I don't either, but I've heard. Um, Shuva Rahim, oh, I love the buffalo analogy. Yeah, it's a great one, isn't it? Doris says, as humans, we're only born with two innate fears, the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. All the other fears are learned later through experience, environment, or conditioning. 100%. And that's why I say, don't be so hard on yourself. The fact that you recognize that you have things that you need to maybe compensate for or overcome or deal with from your childhood, that's great. That's the key of the story. Shiva says, I had that experience of giving up my phone at Red Rocks before a concert. I went by myself and it was actually fun because I had a nice conversation with the people I was sitting next to. See what happens? It's amazing. I think that, and I don't know how old you are, Shiva, but I know that some of us who are, maybe millennials and Gen Z or Gen X and older, because we grew up, I think it's probably a little bit easier for us to do that. You know, you talked about being in the car. I mean, yeah, every time, hours and hours, and trying not to fight. How do you do that? Nikedra says, "Good morning, Beth Ann from Texas. Good morning, Brian Turkle. The Buffalo versus Cow is brilliant." Rola, what did you say the name is? Hassania?
Asanya, yep.
Having that awareness, Beth Ann, is so powerful to catch ourselves and correct. So the greatest journey you'll ever make, one of my guests said this, the greatest journey you'll ever make is that journey of self-discovery. So go on it. Corey Tucker, thank you for those gentle words.
Hi, Corey.
Nikedra says, purpose not set in stone. Yes, it is emerging. That blew me away. Really? I mean, it really blew me away. Thank you. Tom Hashe, people are
What's up, Tom?
People are always changing. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Don't fear change or pivoting because of circumstance, goals, purpose. And Doris says, authenticity is being real, no mask, not trying to be who you think others expect you to be. It's not just words, it's actions, values, flaws, and all. Yeah, it's hard to define, but it's there. And then Lynn says, I learned more than I knew before. Can we all just say that? Joseph, final words, and is there anything that you would like us to be aware of? Anything that you have coming up? I just so appreciate your being on the show with me today here. So, but if there, I want to make sure everybody knows, of course, we'll put all of your stuff in the comments. And maybe we can even throw some screenshots of your merch, because you sent me some awesome stuff that I think people would want to know about. But last words, and what would you like our listeners to know?
Hot off the press, this is first released to you all here, but the Empathy Guy he's got a merch line coming out, and you'll see it in the screenshots that Beth Ann puts in. But unironically, I have a buffalo as my centerpiece. He's leaning in. So when you see it, you'll love it. It'll be on my website in about a month. We're putting things up. I've got a number of speaking gigs that are coming up. I'm so looking forward to speaking in Dallas. So if you're in Dallas and in HR, I'm speaking at HR Southwest in Fort Worth in October. If you're in the Austin area and you're in HR, I'm going to be the feature speaker in December for Austin Sherm. And I love being able to just get this word out, whether it's on stage as the professional speaker, giving the keynote, or in workshops. Workshops feel a lot more like the conversation that Beth Ann and I had, where we just get a chance to dig in, have the questions. I am the Empathy Guy, so my website is empathyguy.com. And if you are interested in connecting with me on LinkedIn and keeping the conversation alive, please do. I am a huge fan of voice notes on LinkedIn. So if you connect with me, it is very likely that you will get a voice note that says, hey, it's Joseph, the Empathy Guy. This is a real person back here. We're getting out of corporate. We're going to make sure that we have a real vibe going on in there. But I hope you can tell I love, love, love what I do. Yes. And the purpose of what we're doing is just to create space for you to see the value of change for yourself, whether that's you or your organization or the people that you're closest to.
I love it. Have you ever thought about writing a book, or have you written a book?
I'm so glad you asked. I am currently working with a company to put out a book in the new year.
Yay. Well, that's exciting. Well, we will look forward to that. So we'll have to have you back on once your book's out, and we can talk about that. Yeah, that'd be fun. It's like my new thing. I already did a book show with one of my repeat guests. So yeah, I'm as an author, I'm all about it. In fact, somebody said you should just have a podcast where you just talk about people's books. So many people have.
Oh my goodness. Well, hold on, Beth Ann, before you go, I need to just say, I know that I am a huge reader. And I've read yours, but I would be remiss if I didn't give 2 good book recommendations.
Yeah, do. Please do. Please do.
First one, if you're interested in empathy and the science of empathy, I read this book. It's called The Science of Evil on Empathy and the Origins of Cruelty. Simon Baron-Cohen digs into the science of empathy and where evil comes from. Fascinating. As a matter of fact, if you're interested in some sort of a metric, there's actually a test that you can take to see where you fall on
Oh, you're breaking up
to
a little
determine.
bit, Joseph. You're frozen and breaking. I can hear you, but you're frozen on the screen. So yeah, we'll put this in the show notes. The Science of Evil. There you are. There you are. There you are.
Yep.
And what's the other book?
The other book, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you this one, Martha Beck's The Way of Integrity. If you've never heard of Martha Beck, she is Oprah's life coach. This was my life changer this year. Got recommended to be by my website designer. I read it the first time, changed the way that I saw integrity, and now I'm reading it for the second time. Amazing.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait until you have a third one, which is your own book to show up there with your recommendations. Joseph, thank you so much for being my guest on my last episode of the season of The Thirsty Professional. You are one of those people, you just continually evolve. Every time I talk to you, it's like something new and you're just like at a next level but you're always trying to, find more and be challenged and evolve. And find more self-awareness. And you are on that journey of self-discovery, which I love because there's so much to talk about it. Thank you so much for being my guest today and hopefully next year too, maybe. All right, friends, this is the last episode for season 1 of The Thirsty Professional. I do want to thank all the people out there who have been such a huge support of this little podcast. So many of you have brought your insight and your wisdom and your personalities to the audience and as my guests. I appreciate you beyond words. So I'm going to be taking the next almost 4 months off to focus on writing. I've got my own next book coming out, my first novel called The Case of the Demon Drums. It's a paranormal mystery based on my experiences as a paranormal investigator for 10 years, one of the cases that I worked. Anyway, I'm taking my some time off to write, the holidays, rebranding, and then I'll be back in mid-January with a whole slew of new guests and some familiar faces because let's face it, I've had some truly outstanding people on the show, and why not bring them back for more awesomeness, right? So I'll still be out there on LinkedIn, YouTube, sharing some of the clips, throwbacks from the season 1. And I look forward to coming back to start fresh in the new year. So if you are out there watching on LinkedIn, please connect if you're not already, both with me and with Joseph Cope. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. So much appreciated. If you have any questions or feedbacks that we haven't gotten to or didn't get to, leave them in the comments or you can DM one of us. And then congratulate yourself for getting real about your career, your purpose, and your passion. So now, Joseph Cope, Miss Hattie Arbuckle, my lovely hat here, and I are going to bid you a fond farewell. Take it easy.
So fill your cup, let's have a chat about careers, life, and all of that.
Well, that was fun. All right.